In this video, we are looking at the brand new 2020 iPad Pro. Yes, Apple have just announced that this will be available in less than a week. And in this video, I'm going to dive into all of the information about this to let you know, is it worth it? Should you upgrade? And what is in it for music creators? But if it's your first time here, who am I? What is this? Well, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live today, where my goal is to help you create, record, and release your best music. And I do that through tips and tricks and tutorial videos, as well as live videos just like this one. And because I do a lot of mobile creating on iPhone and iPad, whenever there's a new announcement to an iOS version or a new piece of hardware, I want to make sure I pass on all of the information I can to you as quickly as possible. So that's what this video is going to be all about. So what's the format? Well, we're going to go through the highlights. So if you've only got a few minutes, I'm going to go through all of the highlights of what is new in this new iPad Pro for 2020. Then going to deep dive into each new feature and tell you a little bit more if you want to get into the weeds of the detail. I'm going to talk about what's in it for music creators. So is there anything new here that's going to help you as a music or a video or a content creator? And finally, the big question, the million-dollar question, should you upgrade? Is it worth your hard-earned $800+ to upgrade? So let's jump into this now. If you are in the market for a new iPad, I do have a video and a guide that can help you out. So you can go to studiolive.com. In fact, it's studiolivetoday.com. studiolivetoday.com/iPad. And that is your one-stop shop for all things iPad. Great preparation, Pete. Super professional. studiolivetoday.com/iPad. Let's jump in and talk about the highlights of this. Let's throw it back on the screen. That is what it looks like. We'll put that up there so that you can drool over it as we go. And there are links to the official Apple video and more information down in the description if you want to check those out. But what do we have on offer? Well, here's the details. It was announced on the 18th of March. It will be available on the 25th of March for pre-order. Now, because right now the Apple stores are not open, it is only available online. So you will need to order it online if you want to pick one up. The 11-inch model starts at $800 or $799 US, and the 12.9-inch starts at $999 US. So no changes to the price for the entry-level versions. However, the entry-level version is now 128 gigabytes instead of 65 gig of storage, which is a good news story. We'll talk about that more in a moment. There are trade-in options for your old iPad Pro. So if you do have an old iPad, you can trade it in and get a little bit of a discount. That's not great. From what I've seen, it's pretty underpriced. You're probably better off, like most times, actually hanging onto your old iPad, selling that on eBay or Gumtree or something else, and then buying the new one. There's two cameras, not three. There was rumored there'd be three cameras. There's two, a wide and an ultra wide camera. There's a new LiDAR scanner for 3D scanning and augmented reality. We'll talk about what that will do in a moment. It's got a faster processor. It's the A12Z or Z chip as opposed to the A12X Bionic that was on the previous model. Better graphics, 8 cores instead of 7 for those that care about number of graphic cores. As I mentioned, the storage starts at 128 gigabytes. It's got 2 extra microphones. So it's now got 5 microphones, which is going to be better if you're using the onboard microphones for anything. Might be interesting for those who create audio and video. The Magic Keyboard. We'll talk about that in more detail, but the Magic Keyboard is a new thing that looks very, very cool. And but it starts at $300. So $300 or $349 for the Magic Keyboard for the 12-inch, and I think $299 for the 11-inch. And iOS 13.4 will be released on the 24th of March to support both the Magic Keyboard, which won't be out till later. We'll talk about that in a moment too. But yeah, iOS 13.4, which will have new cursor support for mouse and keyboard. And that's something that's cool because even if you don't have the new iPad Pro, that will be available for all devices that can support iPadOS 13.4. So that is pretty cool. And that is what we have here. So if you go to apple.com right now, this is what you'll be seeing. You'll be able to scroll down. You can see there the A12Z or Z Bionic chip. Oh, I've clicked through. That's right. I've clicked through. Here it is. That's what it looks like. And Apple have their usual beautiful infographic that says your next computer is not a computer. It's a magical piece of glass, etc., marketing hype. You can go ahead, read the marketing hype, watch the film, do the things. It's got a bunch of liquid retina display, which we know about. You can scroll down and see all of the things. iPad cameras, the new cameras we've talked about. It looks like that. It's got the weird sort of square design that we had on the other ones, on the new iPhones, etc. And then it goes into a bunch more detail. And as we scroll down, yeah, so the frame rate is not going to be keeping up, but there's the augmented reality stuff, etc. You can go ahead and go over and check all of that stuff out. If we just go back though, back to the main Apple page, if you just go to apple.com, this is where it gives you all of the basic details. So you can see there the iPad Pro starting on the 25th of March and the Magic Keyboard coming in May. So if you're super excited about the Magic Keyboard, you don't get too excited because you'll have to use your new iPad for at least a month or two without the use of the Magic Keyboard. Of course, it's got Apple Pencil support. There is the Magic Keyboard that you can see there, the wide and the ultra wide cameras, the two sizes, and the LiDAR scanner. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments if this is something that's exciting you. And now it is time to dive in and look at a little bit more detail about what's actually changing in all of these features. So let's start with the processor. There was talk that there would be the A13 or even the A14, like a big full version upgrade in the processor. All that we've actually got is we've upgraded from the 12X to the 12Z or Z. So it's a faster processor. It's a better processor. But is it game changing? Is it going to be so different from the third gen? Well, we'll need to wait till all the benchmark tests come out. But my gut feel is that it's not going to be game changing. If you've got an iPad Pro third gen, going up to this fourth gen, this 2020 model, may not be game changing, at least in terms of processor. The graphics are kind of the same. So we're up to an 8-core. I can't believe we're talking about 8 cores of graphics processors, up from 7 cores. It will be an improvement. How much of an improvement will it be? We'll have to find out. Now, the 5 mics, what Apple say, I don't mean to laugh, but for most of my audience here who are music creators, they have 5 studio quality microphones in the iPad. Now, I have used and I continue to use my iPhone and iPad microphones for all sorts of applications. They're actually a good quality mic. If you are in a pinch, you can record. I've recorded backing vocals. I've recorded guitar. I've recorded all sorts of things just using the built-in mic. I'm definitely not going to say don't use it. But what I'm going to say is if you're spending over $1,000, which you would be if you're buying anything but the entry level of the iPad Pro 4th gen, you're probably going to be using some audio gear to actually record your audio. If you're spending $1,000 on a brand new iPad Pro 2020 and then using the onboard microphone for anything but maybe a Skype call and a bit of FaceTime action, then yeah, you're probably not allocating your resources. You're probably better off buying a $300 iPad and $500 worth of recording gear, and you'll do a lot better with that. But there are more microphones. More is better than less, right? There's upgrades to the network, so the Wi-Fi and the wireless will be faster, supporting Wi-Fi 6, which is like the newest wireless standard. So yeah, that's always good. You do want to future-proof yourself when it comes to that. But again, game changer? Probably not. The storage we talked about. So the good news here is that previously storage started at 64 and then went up to 56, 512, and 1 terabyte. I think Apple realized that 64 gigabytes on an iPad Pro just doesn't make sense for the amount of things you do. As soon as you're talking 4K video, as soon as you're talking even full res audio recording, you need more than 64 gig. I know that you can use USB storage and iCloud storage. There are ways to work around it. But if you've got an iPad Pro, I honestly think 128 is the minimum you want, 256 if you can, 512 or a terabyte if you can afford it. The cameras. Now, it is very strange, not strange, but I'm not personally sure why we need a wide and an ultra wide. Like, I don't take photos. I know a lot of people do take photos with their iPads. Like, it's a pretty common thing. You see people out there pointing their iPads at things. I don't particularly use my camera for much with the iPad, but maybe I'm alone in that. And it can't hurt to have better cameras. Is it something that I would upgrade for my iPad, considering my iPad sits on my desk, being a curation device and a consumption device? Probably not, but they're there. And there's only 2 of them, not the 3 like we have on the iPhone 11 Pro, but they do have the LiDAR sensor. So the reason you see the 3 little things on the display when we come, where was that? We'll bring the display back up here. The reason we got the 3 little things here is that this one in the middle here is the LiDAR sensor. So we've got the 2 cameras, the wide and the ultra wide, and then the LiDAR sensor. So what the heckaroonie is a LiDAR sensor? Well, it is something that uses 3D depth perception to help with things like augmented reality, with 3D scanning of rooms, so that you can do all sorts of funky things. You can use it for your portrait photos to do that depth, that bokehing. You can use it for design and architecture type things. There's all sorts of applications for it. Musically and video wise, yeah, maybe not. So yeah, it's a thing. Again, it's coming to the new iPhone 12, so that's where we thought we would first see it. It was not really rumored to be on the iPad Pro 2020, but it's there. It's a thing, so it's a good thing. What else do we have? Well, there's a new thermal design that they're talking about, so it should be cooler. So every time they cram more stuff into the same form factor, which I didn't really cover, but these are the exact same form factor. So they are the same thickness, they're almost an identical weight, but that you can use all the same sort of stuff. The reason I think they did that is that, yeah, same form factor, they can use the same things as the iPad Pro 3rd generation, which is a good thing because when we talk about the Magic Keyboard, that's going to excite a few folks, I'm sure. And the battery is slightly smaller in terms of the actual amperage, but Apple is still claiming a 10-hour battery life. So they must have found some efficiencies so that the slightly smaller battery, to fit in with all the other components that they've jammed in there, still provides the same amount of power. So that is what is changing. What is staying the same? Well, everything else. So the display is tweaked a little, but nothing major. 11-inch, 12.9-inch. It's the same pricing model, except that you get that additional bit of storage at the low end, and everything else pretty much in line with what is in the 3rd generation. But quite a few changes, and if you were considering, if you'd held off, you are getting more bang for your buck if you're buying the 4th generation as opposed to the 3rd. And once again, if you want to check out all the details, there are links down in the description to the Apple webpage, as well as to my guide at studiolivetoday.com/iPad, where I will also be updating with the details as more and more are revealed. Let's talk Magic Keyboard, shall we? Let's jump back over here, because the Magic Keyboard, as you would have seen in the first little picture that I showed there of it on its side, that nice shiny picture, is probably the most interesting news I think that's come out of this update. And the reason I say that is, even if you don't own the new one, the Magic Keyboard is going to be compatible with the iPad Pro 3rd generation. And I know folks like Jade Star, moderator here on the channel, is considering going that route with just buying the keyboard instead of that. So there it is. That's what it does. It turns your iPad into a little miniature laptop arrangement there. So that is what it's going to look like. It floats. So it's got a little magnetic clip on the back there. It pops on there, it floats, it looks very sleek, and then you can use it on the go. And their little slogan there is, your next computer is not a computer, it's a magical piece of glass, etc., etc. And now it's gone into more of the details there. I thought it might have more about the actual keyboard. The keyboard itself, it retails for $300 for the 11-inch and $350 for the 12.9-inch. So it is not going to be cheap. So if you wanted to kit yourself out, the minimum specs, if you wanted an 11-inch with the keyboard, is going to be $1,100. If you want the 12-inch with the keyboard, you're going to be set back $1,350. And that's just for the 128 gig Wi-Fi model. You can spend, I spec'd out the biggest spec, so a 12.9-inch Wi-Fi and cellular, 1 terabyte with the keyboard in Australia, and it came out to about $3,500. So yeah, you can, like most things, you can go kind of nuts here. But yeah, that's only if you go the complete full specs with that. So the Magic Keyboard's pretty exciting. What is more exciting, I think, about the Magic Keyboard is that iOS 13.4 is actually going to incorporate this new cursor support. And if you watch the video, which again is linked at the bottom, you can check that out at the end of this one. If you watch the video from Apple, you'll see it's a contextual cursor. So as opposed to at the moment where if you use a mouse on your iPhone or iPad, it's basically an accessibility feature. It's just got a single sort of target. You move that around, and it's basically a virtual finger. What they're doing, though, is that because they're trying to become the computer replacement, they're actually moving to a new type of cursor, which is this evolving, adapting cursor. So if you hold it over something, it turns into whatever you're holding it over. It sounds like something that's going to be clunky at first, but like most Apple things, I think we'll get used to it, and I think it'll be pretty cool. If we can incorporate things like right-clicking and better drag and drop and better functionality with the mouse. I've started using a mouse with my iPad Pro first generation, and it's very cool using a keyboard and mouse with that. So any improvements that iOS 13.4 is going to give us is going to be cool. And considering this was rumored to be in iOS 14, that we'd have to wait till the end of the year, that we get this in a week is pretty cool. So watch this space. I'll definitely be reviewing that and checking out the new iOS 13.4 on my collection of iPhones and iPads. Even if I don't get the new one, I'll be showing you what that can do. So that's a Magic Keyboard. Again, will be available in May, but iOS 13.4 will be out on the 24th of March, so the day before the new iPad Pro 2020 ships. Let's move into our last sections here. Music creators, what's in it for you? So let's talk about this. The processor and storage are great, but there's really nothing new there. Compared to the iPad Pro 3rd generation, you can still get up to 1 terabyte. Yes, the boost at the low end's good. So if you were buying an entry-level one, 128 instead of 64 is a big thumbs up. USB-C is great because it can support a wide range of accessories. So moving away from Lightning means you can use docking stations, you can use all sorts of port replicators, you can use all sorts of other devices, plug them in via USB-C, and that is going to be good to go. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention the Magic Keyboard has USB-C pass-through, which is really handy. It means that you can power up your iPad, plug it into other things. You don't need necessarily a powered hub. If you wanted to plug one device in, you can power your iPad through the Magic Keyboard, getting all choked up, and then plug in your other devices there. Back to the for creators. The display is very similar to the 3rd gen, so no real advantage there. You've got the same amount of screen real estate, very similar display. The cameras and mics, these are nice to have, but again, if you're a content creator, you're creating music, you're creating video, do you really need really good onboard mics? Do you really need those really good cameras? They might be handy. So maybe for someone like me, when I'm shooting video and I need another good quality camera to shoot another video angle, maybe if I had an iPad Pro in the corner, I could like prop up and have as an extra camera. That might be cool. I don't know. The microphones, yeah, again, when you're making Skype calls, FaceTime calls, Zoom meetings, things like that, that might be handy, but not a game changer. And the Magic Keyboard is cool, but the previous models can use a mouse and a keyboard and have been able to since iPadOS 13. So in terms of functionality, we can still, I plug a USB keyboard and mouse into even my iPad Air 2 and my iPad Pro 1st gen. So you can still do that. And with iPadOS 13.4, everyone will be able to do that. We'll all benefit from the new cursors. And quite personally, I'm not a trackpad guy. I'm a mouse guy. I can't get the right functionality, especially if I'm doing video editing and audio editing. A trackpad just doesn't work for me. That's my personal thing. If you're all about the trackpad, maybe the Magic Keyboard is worth your $300 investment. It's like $550 in Australia. Yeah. If you said to me, oh, here's a new iPad case, it's got a keyboard built in, I'd be like, cool. What is it like? $100? Like, yeah, $550. Like, whoa, $550 for a keyboard case. Anyway, we know we pay the Apple tax. We've known that for a while. So let's cut to the chase. Should you upgrade? Will I be upgrading? Is this worth upgrading? So if you are like me, so I was in the market for an iPad Pro, and I nearly bought an iPad Pro 3rd gen about 6 to 8 months ago. Instead, I bought a secondhand iPad Pro 1st gen, and I spent about $500 on that. And that has been working beautifully. 12.9-inch screen, good processor, good storage space, love it. However, for me, this is probably the time. This is probably when I need to say, given that the iPad is my main content creation device, my main computing device, if you want to use Apple's thing, my next computer is not a computer, my main device that I use for all of my content creation, then it may be worthwhile. And I'm definitely considering, I'm weighing up the options at the moment. If you had an iPad Pro 3rd generation, would I suggest upgrading? No, I don't think so. I don't think there is enough. The processor not being a full upgrade is not doing much. The fact you can still use the Magic Keyboard if you wanted to, you'll still get iOS 13.4 with all of the advantages that has. And there's nothing there that's a game changer. Still USB-C, still the same screen and storage. I don't think there's enough there. If you're somewhere in between, let's say you're an iPad Pro 2nd gen, or you're running an iPad Air 3 or an iPad 2018, yeah, there's some really good things here. Like the software and the applications are only going to continue requiring being more hungry, more processor intense, more RAM intensive, more storage intensive. So if you are in a position where you're able to upgrade, it may be worth doing that because there's a lot of good things here. It's one of those things. Often we get these things with Apple where it's not just a go game changer, just do it now. It's always you got to weigh up the pros and the cons, and depending where you are in the cycle is where you should upgrade. So my final recommendation is if you are looking for an upgrade right now and you are on an iPad Pro first or second gen or anything earlier than that, it is worth considering upgrading. If you're on the iPad Pro third gen, I wouldn't consider upgrading. And in fact, what happens at this time is usually the iPad Pro third gens, the refurbished models, start reducing in prices. So as people buy the new model, they're upgrading themselves from the third gen. You can often pick up a great deal on a secondhand iPad. And once again, if you head to studiolivetoday.com/iPad, I've got all the links you need there with the complete range of models, all the different specifications, and all of my advice on choosing a new iPad. There are some other changes to some other Apple products, which we're not talking about in this video, but you can check all of those out. There's a new MacBook Air with some new cool specs. There's a new Mac Mini with some new specs. You can check all of those out at apple.com. You can also check out links to other things here on Studio Live today. Like I said, my iPad guide is down there. Links to other videos as well as everything I've talked about in this video are down in the description. Head over to studiolivetoday.com for that and a heap more information about creating on your mobile device. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.